Broncos country. Man, y'all ready for some playoff football? I am. Your boy is ready for the Broncos back in the playoffs. We are getting set. You know, we celebrated for the first 24 hours, and now we are locked and loaded in on the Broncos and the Bills. We're going to go over, talk about the Bills a little bit, talk about their team overall, their strengths, some of the weaknesses. We'll go over some PFF grades and just some interesting thoughts leading into this matchup. If it's your first time on the channel, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you. Hit that subscribe button. Please, it'll really help me out if you love Denver sports. But more importantly, I think that you're really going to like the content on this channel. Never edit my videos. I just hit record and we get to chatting. So let's build this community up together. Appreciate y'all in advance. All right, cool. Let's get to it. Broncos and Bills, man, oh man, Sunday, 11 a.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Eastern time. I hate the time frame. I hate the time zone. Not a fan. Not a fan of the early games, but I will be in Vegas. We planned a Vegas trip. We go every year with, my dad, my brother, my brother-in-law, a couple of really close friends. We go every year for Wild Card Weekend. So it actually, for my travel plans, it works out really well. It's going to be a 10 a.m. game there in Vegas on Sunday. So looking forward to that. All right, guys. So who are the Buffalo Bills? Are they as legit as everybody says that they are? Well, let me tell you guys, let me be fully transparent because that's all you're going to ever get on this channel. The Buffalo Bills this year are better equipped to win the Super Bowl than they have been in any year prior, in my opinion. And I said this actually to a lot of friends. I got a lot of Bills. I got a couple of friends that are Bills fans. And I talked about it. I said, them going away from Stephon Diggs and emphasizing the run game and taking a little bit off of Josh Allen's plate is going to be a huge key for what it is that they, needed to do to be successful as a team. If you guys remember I think it was AFC Championship game last year where the Chiefs went to Buffalo and played. The Buffalo Bills really dominated that game, the first three quarters, and they dominated it because they were running the ball unbelievably well. They just controlled the clock. They really kept things rolling against the Chiefs. And then in the fourth quarter, like a lot of teams do against the Chiefs, they start to kind of overthink themselves and do stupid stuff, and they reverted away from it. And reports were is because, Stephon Diggs was like crying and wanting the ball and all that kind of stuff. Drives me crazy. Anyways, the commitment that the Bills made to running the football and being a lot more balanced is going to help them. It helped them a lot this season. I think they're a much better team. But specifically in the playoffs when the weather's getting bad and teams are going to play you as tight as they possibly can, you need to be able to lean on that run game. So I think the Bills are very, very legit for that reason. They're extremely balanced. And if you look at their yearly stats, right, they rank 10th in total offense. So they're top 10 there. But they're 9th in passing and they're 9th in rushing. And then even more importantly, they're 2nd in scoring. So their offense is incredibly balanced and it's incredibly effective and efficient. And in addition to that, they have a plus 24 turnover margin that is absurdly good. Just to give you guys an idea, it's first by almost double. The second best team is the Steelers, and I believe they're at plus 14. So they take care of the ball, and man, do they take it away. Plus 26 is absurd in a 17-game season. That's really, really good. So you can see and you can understand why the Bills are a very tough team to beat. They take care of the football, they take away the football, and they can run the ball well when needed, and they can pass the ball well when needed as well. They do have a little bit of, I would call it a weakness, or they're vulnerable a little bit defensively, right? So their defense, and you've seen it in a lot of games too. The defense is ranked 17th overall, 24th in pass. They're much better against the run. They're 12th against the run, but they're 11th in points. And I think a lot of that, guys, is because even though the defense might be giving out a lot of points, because they're turning the football over and they're winning that turnover battle most of the time, and their offense does not turn the ball over very much, they're not going to be put in terrible positions. So they're able to keep teams from scoring a whole lot of points on them every single game. So on paper, yeah, the Bills are a very, very tough team. There's no doubt about it. I think that they're very, like I said, well-balanced. I think their biggest weakness is, first of all, their O-line has had a lot of vulnerabilities this year. I think that Josh Allen overall has covered up a lot of what it is that they kind of struggle with. Their defense as well, like I said, specifically their secondary, man, they really tend to struggle. They're very opportunistic, but they tend to struggle and get beat for a lot of yards. But their head coach as well, man. I'll take it at Bills fans' words more than mine because I don't watch enough of the Bills to really understand, like, is Sean McDermott that bad? I think he's a really good defensive mind, but it seems like in these big games or in big moments, he kind of seems to fold. I don't know if he's necessarily the right coach or the best coach to be able to take the Bills to the promised land. But that is something that I think is just worth pointing out. When you look at all the elite teams, you look at the Chiefs. Obviously, they got Andy Reid. They got an elite head coach, Super Bowl champion. You got the Ravens. You've got John Harbaugh. He's elite coach. He's won the championship. And so when you look across the league, that's kind of where you feel like there's kind of a glaring hole. Is Sean McDermott hasn't really, had that much success. All things considered, considering the expectations and the talent of the team. That being said, the offensive coordinator Joe Brady, I think he's been a stud. I think he's been a really good fit for Josh Allen in this offense. And like I said, really leaning in on James Cook in that run game. And don't get it twisted. You guys know this. Josh Allen is a very big part of this run game. He's a huge part of it as well. So the run game as a whole is extremely effective. And I think that's what makes it very tough for the Broncos team to game plan against is, if you want to emphasize stopping the pass, they can run the ball. If you emphasize stopping the run, they can obviously beat you over the top. So we just have to be very sound, very efficient when we get our opportunities on offense, and we have to do what we can to try to force turnovers. We'll get more into the key matchups and all that at a later video. But that's kind of what I had gathered from this initial data. Now, when you're pulling up the PFF here, you'll be able to see a lot of things that are really interesting. Obviously Josh Allen, we know who he is. He's ranked 3rd overall at all quarterbacks. His PFF grade is ridiculous. From a wide receiver standpoint, this could, in a way it makes me optimistic as a Bronco fan. In a way it actually makes me very scared because this is one of those situations where they don't have a clear wide receiver one in terms of like a league standard wide receiver one. The wide receiver one on this team is definitely Khalil Shakir. There's no doubt about it. But, you got Amari Cooper, who they traded for, who, you obviously know the talent, but he hasn't really been performing all that well since he's been there. Our boy Jalen Virgil's there, man. Shout out to Jalen. And you got Curtis Samuel, who's very much a gadget guy. He doesn't play a whole much. Mac Hollins is kind of like a Sean Payton dream guy, a guy that's not going to get a lot of catches necessarily. He's like their version of Lil Jordan Humphrey, but I think a little bit better. A blocking guy, somebody that gets down and dirty in the pass game. And is a good red zone threat. Keon Coleman, extremely talented rookie, was super high on him when he came out of Florida State. I liked him. But overall, the room, they're not overly productive. They don't have one receiver that went over 1,000 yards, but they've got several receivers that got over 500 yards. So they spread the ball around, kind of similarly to the Packers in a sense of how their wide receiver position's been performing this year. It makes it a little bit difficult because when you have a bona fide number one corner, the best cornerback in the league, usually you can just say, okay, go up against their number one, and then we can figure the rest out. Well, there isn't really a clear number one. The best receiver on their team or the most productive this year was Khalil Shakir, and he's running out of the slot most of the time. So, that being the case, it's going to be a little bit interesting to see what the game plan is. Typically, historically, Vance Joseph has not performed well against teams like that. That can kind of spread the ball and beat you in all different ways. But yeah, overall, the wide receiver room doesn't scare you to death. Their running back room definitely can because they got a guy named James Cook who's an absolute baller. Now, they do give a lot of carries to Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. They mix those two in. But man, has James Cook been impressive both in the pass game and the run game. He's actually a really good pass protector as well, given his size, just being 5'11", 190 pounds. He's a very, very good player. Watch out for him. The way that teams have been going after our defense has been, it's kind of been happening a lot more over the last month or so. And so hopefully we adjust, but it's trying to isolate the running back out of the backfield on a linebacker and a slot receiver or a tight end on a linebacker. If they can get the linebackers in coverage, they know they're going to be able to have, a big advantage on the Broncos defense overall. Tight ends, we already know Dalton Kincaid. He's had a pretty decent year overall. I mean, he's ranked very highly, but it's because he does a lot of things super well. Statistically, he's not going to blow you out of the water, but he's a hell of a player. Super, super talented, especially when it comes to the red zone. I think he's the guy that's probably going to give us the most fits, similar to Mike Gesicki a couple weeks back. They're really going to try to game plan and make Dalton Kincaid and perhaps even Dalton Knox have a really big game. All right, let's get into the offensive line now. So as y'all can see, they do got Deion Dawkins, who is renowned to be, one of the better tackles, no doubt about it, in the NFL. He's a very, very good left tackle. And then they got Spencer Brown that's playing right tackle, who's, really good as well in a sense of, at least from a PFF standpoint. But both of them, solid vet guys, pretty good there. Their guards are where some of their weaknesses, but they do have a really good center in Connor McGovern. But their guards have, a lot of vulnerabilities in the sense of like Osiris Torrance and David Edwards, obviously, as you guys can see on here. But here's another thing. They tend to give up. And when I was watching a little bit of the All 22 film, they tend to be pretty vulnerable when it comes to getting pressure up the middle at times. I think, and then, like I said, Josh Allen covers up a lot for this team. What's nice about that, what's a good thing for us, is that the way that you want to blitz Josh Allen, the way that our pass rushers need to get at him is collapsing the outsides, which we're really good at. But being able, you don't want him to be able to step up and run or step up in the pocket in general. So them having some vulnerabilities there is really helpful for a team like the Broncos, but it makes it really tough for somebody like Josh Allen, especially with timing and all of that as well. So their O-line is not, by no means is it bad, but it's definitely not the greatest either. I would say it's probably a middle of the road O-line overall. In terms of like the pressure rate and their sack rate and what they give up is fairly, it says the same thing. It's kind of like right middle of the road type of stuff as well. So nothing crazy, but that's one place where I feel like there could be an advantage for this team, just off of my initial, deep diving into this a little bit, is that, where we obviously, our strength on defense is rushing the passer. We lead the league in sacks. And so being able to get pressure is going to be huge. And this is an offensive line that I feel like we should definitely be able to get, fairly consistent pressure on for sure. Defensively, they've got some guys that, like a Rasul Douglas, for example, Khair Elam, these are older guys that kind of, they're veteran guys. They played on several different teams. You know what you're going to get. They're not bad. They're not the greatest, but they've got some, vulnerabilities in that secondary really as a whole. And their safety position has not been good whatsoever. Any of the safeties, they've all really struggled at various times throughout the season. And as you guys can see, they've got a lot of safeties playing, a lot of different snaps. They've had a lot of injuries, a lot of plug-in guys to try to, figure out ways to be able to, they just had a lot of guys going in and out. But it doesn't seem like they have really big-time playmakers on the back end of this team. Obviously, with Tre'Davious White going down earlier in the year, that did not help. But they're not very good when it comes to the secondary overall. But where they are good, surprisingly, and even after the Matt Milano injury, that was brutal. Matt Milano, I think, is a really, really good player. But where they are really good is going to be on the defensive line as well. We'll get to the linebackers here in a second. But their D-line, although they don't necessarily get the most amount of sacks, they're pretty dang good against the run. They're stout. They're a tough team to move. And they got guys like Daquan Jones. I remember him back in the day. I really wanted him. Obviously, Ed Oliver is going to be a problem. Ed Oliver, I'm saving this for my key matchups video that usually comes out on Friday before game day. But Ed Oliver is going to give Luke Wamberg some issues potentially, or the interior of that line. So hopefully Quinn Miles will be able to take care of him. But they've got they got a good D-line, and they got decent overall pass rushers. Obviously we know about our boy Von Miller, right? Love me some Von Miller. But between Von Miller and Greg Rousseau and then AJ Epinesa at times kind of, being able to generate some pressure, they can get after you, man. They really can, especially if the game gets out of hand on obvious pass down scenarios. It's going to be a challenge for Bo. He's going to have to get the ball out of his hands quickly because they got guys coming at all sides. And so, when you look at it, the PFF grades, their NFL rankings, what they show on film, their record, everything, very much goes in line with, it's all very consistent across the board. This is a team that is very good at everything. They're just solid across the board offensively. Their defense, like I said, is a league average defense by most standards. So they're good enough. They're not elite. They're not bad. They do a good job of taking the ball away. But overall, they're just very well-rounded. I think that's what's going to make this team so difficult to beat, and why it's going to be a hell of a challenge for Bo Nix and this Broncos. But regardless of what the outcome of the game is, I am so pumped to be able to talk about this game, in general, especially share it with you guys here on YouTube. But in addition, just really see how this team performs. How do they show up? What's their energy like? What's their focus? Are they gonna come out ready to play, ready to fight? I really truly believe that they are. I don't think that's going to be a problem whatsoever with this team. I just really am excited to see, because you learn a lot about your team in the playoffs too. Not just in terms of the character, the build, the guys within the locker room in terms of how they show up in their preparation. But, if in the playoffs, you really find out what your strengths are, and you truly find out what your weaknesses are, because you're playing the best teams in the NFL at the most crucial time. So you're getting their best. So if you perform your best and you're going up against a team that gives them their best, the weaknesses are going to be very much they're really going to pop off, and the strengths are really going to pop off. And so regardless of the outcome, it's really going to help paint an even clearer picture of where this team needs to improve and where their strengths are and how we can continue to build this thing overall as a team. But yeah, I just wanted to make some quick for y'all tonight. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know below in the comments what you guys think about this Bills team. Do they scare you? If so, why? If not, let me know that why as well. But I don't need y'all coming in here talking crap or saying some crazy emotional stuff. I want some real, legitimate, candor back and forth. I want to talk to y'all about it. I want to see you guys' opinions, and I need to be able to, discuss that with you all as well. So cool. Well, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you for bearing with me today. Got a little bit of a migraine starting to kick in, so I'm gonna hop off. But spend time with those you love the most. Go Broncos, baby. Enjoy the week. Make it count. Stay warm out there, and let's get ready for the Buffalo Bills and playoff football. Go Broncos, baby. Peace out.